And in terms of regulators, now they have to play a role. We haven't really talked about them yet, but what kind of a role should regulators play? Richard, do you want to start with that one?
Yeah, so I think in terms of what we're trying to achieve is obviously efficiency and competitiveness. So I think regulators need to be close to any market changes that occur under T+1, to effectively scrutinize them changes, and also the market participants in terms of their migration to T+1 and what they're implementing. Now, I think at the moment, a lot of firms are obviously in their planning and testing phases. I think that, certainly when T+1 goes live, we'll be able to see, who's really invested in T+1. And I think the regulator should certainly have a keen eye post go live in terms of, where the successes and failures are across the market.
Anything to add, Mike?
I think Rich has covered that quite nicely. The bit I would hopefully ask the regulator is that, or the regulators, what's been really good in ESMA's played a key role here as well. There's a watching brief. And whilst I think that T+1, if you look at it from a legislation perspective, it is quite small actually, what the actual legal legislation will say. But I think there's an expectation from regulators. And whilst everything is a recommendation, particularly within the the task forces that we'll sit in and we put forward the recommended changes, there will be some actors that say, well, it's not mandatory, it's just a recommendation, I don't have to do it. And that is right. Legally, that is right. But I do think there's an expectation from the regulators that the recommendations will be implemented. And I think that if they could advocate and share that message more broadly, I think it would help everybody, because then we're all hearing the same thing at the same time. And also, it would be great as part of that engagement we have with them now is any opportunity to change. Like we just mentioned about letting the registrars know ahead of making something public. Like Martin's points around, we could mandate it that these documents have a summary page at the beginning summarising the event on every circular, right? The little incremental things, and I'll use the word refinery a lot, anything we can do to refine that process, but make it mandatory, make it regulatory, then everybody knows what it is. And we don't have these nuances in each market, because everyone looks at us in Europe and they compare it to the US, but with 30 odd markets, right? It's more complex because of the complexity we have and the nuances we have. But if we can limit them as much as possible, the same playing field for the same rules, for the same people everywhere, I think that'd be massive for everybody.
Sure, it would make an impact on the regulators' plans for the Savings and Investments Union, making it simpler for all of the industry to deal with these things. Definitely important to note.